I remember that these two people were sparring each other, and there was nobody in the ring stopping them from beating each other up. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to be able to fight, and I don't want anyone to stop the fight. I just want to be able to fight and do what I want. At gym, yes, definitely. I remember the first time that I ever stepped into a boxing gym. For the first time, I was 12 years of age. And I remember walking up the stairs of the Sutherland PCYC, and the minute the door opened up, the first thing that I saw was two young athletes who were sparring each other, and I was mesmerized by that, by seeing that. This was the first time that I actually saw a boxing ring live, and to see two people in the ring sparring each other, I was totally mesmerized, and I was super excited to watch. As a young boy, I was often in fights at school because I used to get picked on a lot. I used to get bullied at school, and so, you would get into a fight at school, but then the teacher would break it up. But I was mesmerized to see that these two athletes were sparring each other, and they were going at it, and nobody was stopping the fight. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah. I mean, now that you mentioned bullying, I think boxing, I'm sure boxing is the best sport to take the kids out of the streets.
Yes, for sure.
Maybe do you know? I mean, do you have like a reason or?
Yeah.
Why is this?
I feel like you know what? If you're a young person and you're often getting bullied, or you're often getting into fights outside of, in school and things like this, when you take up a sport like boxing, it teaches you the discipline and to know how to throw punches and to know how to protect yourself. And I feel that once I learned how to box, I got into less fights because I knew how to protect myself, and I knew how to use my mouth to save myself from getting into fights. I became very smart. I was like, you know what, if I get into trouble at school, my dad's not going to let me go to boxing. So I would then think twice before I got into a fight with anybody. Before I argued with anybody, I would always think twice, thinking that, okay, if I do this, then I'm not going to be allowed to go to the boxing gym this afternoon or today at some point. So this would steer me away from trouble. And the fact that other people knew that I knew how to defend myself, this stopped them from attacking me. Growing up as a young boy, no one in my whole generation knew anything about boxing. None of my uncles, none of my aunties, none of my cousins, nobody knew nothing about boxing. The only thing that I knew about boxing was Rocky, the Rocky movies. And I remember a lot of my brothers, they played a sport called football. In Australia, we have the sport called football, like rugby league. And when I was young, my father, because I was getting picked on at school, he decided to put us in some after-school sports. And rugby league was the sport that I chose to do because I wanted to follow in the footsteps of my brother. Or my brothers, I should say. But then, as a young boy, we would often watch the Rocky movies. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. All of these amazing Rocky movies, we would watch them. And so when I started doing football, the trainer one day, he said, we're going to do some boxercise. And I started to hit the pads. And I was fast and I was good. And the trainer said, have you ever boxed before? I said, no, but I've watched a lot of Rocky movies. And he said, well, you need to go to the boxing gym. You need to tell your dad to take you to the boxing gym. And so I said to my father that the trainer said that if I want to be a better rugby league player, I need to take up boxing. And I ended up at the boxing gym, and I never looked back. I never looked back.
Well, and what happens when you receive the first punch?
I'm going to be honest, because as a young boy, I grew up in a household with I had my brother Jihad, Ahmad, Muhammad, Nasser, myself, my sister Sabrina, my brother Yusuf. So there was 6 boys and 1 girl. And we would often get into fights. We would often hit each other. And so when we would watch the Rocky movies, my father, he used to have a convenience store. And in his convenience store, he sold boxing gloves. So I was used to getting punched because my brothers would punch me. So when I went to the boxing gym, it was like, when I got punched, it was no problem. I got punched, yeah, no problem. I give it back. When I was younger, I was known to be a very good spoiler with somebody who put a lot of pressure. I threw a lot of punches. I take the punch, I give it back. I never was a mover. I just wanted to fight and punch. And so, when I got the first punch, I was like, no problem. I can take this.
Yeah. How about your amateur career? How many fights? Your record?
As an amateur, I started boxing when I was 12, and at the time in Australia it was illegal to fight until you had to be 14. But I got my birth certificate and I changed my age from born in 1985 to being born in 1983. I made myself older, and I boxed as an amateur, and I had 113 amateur fights. I had 98 wins and 15 losses. I boxed all over the world. I represented Australia in many different countries: Cuba, Hungary, Russia, Thailand, Spain, Greece, Amsterdam. I boxed all over the world as an amateur. So I was very, very fortunate to represent Australia. The only misfortunate thing that happened to me when I was coming up in the game is that I was set to go to the 2004 Olympic Games, but due to my recklessness, I decided to get on a motorbike and I injured myself and I missed my spot to represent Australia at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, and is the Olympics the dream of everybody? Was that your dream? Did you make it to the Olympics?
When I was young, my dream was to be an Olympian, yes. And when I missed my opportunity to represent Australia at the 2004 Olympic Games, I quickly shifted my focus from the amateurs to the professional game. And my childhood hero was none other than Prince Nassim Hamed. And when I was 17, I was fortunate enough to meet him. And when I met him and he saw my skills, he said that the greatest thing that I could do was turn professional and embark on a professional career and aim to become a world champion. And for me, I was very lucky because Prince Nassim, being my childhood hero, he won many world titles. But in 1996, he won the IBF featherweight world title against, I think it was 1997, he beat Tom Boom Boom Johnson for the IBF featherweight world title. And if you look in the history now of the IBF, in 2011, I won the IBF featherweight world title, which was a dream come true because I wanted to follow in the footsteps of my hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you have a hero, do you like to study, emulate, copy his technique, his punches?
Yes. When I was a young boy, I was mesmerized with Prince Nassim's style, his flair, his flamboyance, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps. And there is only one Muhammad Ali. There is only one Mike Tyson. And when you talk about great names like Julio Cesar Chavez, there's only one Chavez, and there's only one Prince Nassim Hamed. Prince Nassim Hamed was a very unique fighter and one of a kind.
For sure.
So you can emulate him, but you can never be like him because he was something that was very unique.
How do you define your style? Are you a puncher? Are you a brawler? Are you a technician?
I would say that during my boxing career, I had different phases. Early on, I was very, very flamboyant because I was trying to follow in the footsteps of Nassim Hamed. And as I progressed, I became more of a technician, more smart. I would break you down. I would hit the body. I was a 55% in the ratings. If you look at BoxRec, I was a 55% puncher. I wasn't heavy-handed, but I could break you down and I could stop you in the later rounds. And sometimes I scored early knockouts. And on my way to becoming the IBF featherweight world champion, I had 10 fights and 8 of them were by knockout. So I began to hit the body, and I understood that if I hit the body correctly, I could win people and I could stop them from the accumulation of hitting the body. So I was what you call I would say a boxer mover, but also at times if I needed to get down and dirty, I could do that also.
Yeah. There are some boxers that have that are superstitious, that sometimes they do a ritual before coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere, like, I don't know, they don't go into the ring if they don't have red socks or I don't know. Do you have any rituals or
I'll
beliefs?
be honest with you. My ritual was not anything to do with my boxing boots or my socks or my gloves. Even though I love to match everything, when I used to fight, everything that I wore was very matchy. And you will see this on the 12th of December when I have my final fight with the WBC. This will be the last time that I enter the boxing ring, and I'm very, very excited about it. You will see with the outfit how I love to match the colors. But my ritual was I would always clean my room. before a fight. I had a thing where if I was staying in a hotel, I would tell the people in the hotel, don't come to my room on the day of the fight because I want to do it on myself. I would clean the bathroom, I would do my bed sheets, I would fold all my towels and all my clothes and everything. I would put it in my travel bag. I would make everything really beautiful. That was my ritual, to make sure that I cleaned my bedroom extremely well.
How do you perceive boxing through religion? Because religion tells you not to hurt, not to blah, all that. How do you mix?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a very religious person, and I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and God, and God tells us not to hurt another soul, and that if we hurt a soul, it's like hurting all of humanity. But I feel like boxing is a sport, and it's a gentleman's sport, as you said, and it's a sport about winning. But I don't go in there with the intention of killing my opponent. I go in there with the intention of winning a fight. And I feel that, I feel that it is wrong in a way to hurt another human. But after a boxing match, it's a gentleman's sport. We hug and we embrace each other. And I feel that through the platform that boxing has given me, God has allowed me to help other people. So I have built this platform of being Bilidib, somebody who aspires to help other fighters, aspires to help fellow humans, and this can only be possible through the platform that God gave me through boxing.
Boxing is, without a doubt, one of the greatest sports for creating a very deep bond between rivals.
Yes.
You're a rival in the ring, but then you're friends for life.
Yes.
Outside of the ring.
I mean, for me, when I watched, growing up as a young boy, I was a big fan of Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales, Juan Manuel Marquez, Julio Cesar Chavez, great Mexican fighters. And to see the rivalry of Marco Antonio Barrera versus Eric Morales, even at the weigh-in, they punch each other and they attack each other. But today, now, they are very, very close friends. And I remember many years ago, in 2006, I was in England with Prince Nassim Hamed, and we were in Sheffield, and Ricky Hatton was fighting a fighter by the name of Carlos Mausa, who was from Colombia. And Marco Antonio Barrera and Prince Nassim were there together as friends. These were fierce rivals. But when they fought and Marco won the fight, they became friends. And I was there and I witnessed that. And to see that no matter what you're going through with an opponent at the time, you want to win. He wants to win. You say things to each other, but after the fight you hug. And boxing creates a bond like no other bond. I feel like when you have shared the ring with somebody, when you think about Arturo Gatti, you can only think about Mickey Ward. Mm-hmm. When you think of Mickey Ward, you think of Arturo Gatti. Together they shared a wonderful relationship, and that was only through them spending 30 rounds in the ring, beating the hell out of each other.
Yes. It's incredible. It's, you just made a connection with two guys, and I don't know why, I just, the rock group or a music group came into my mind, because the Beatles once they went apart,
yes,
they weren't the Beatles anymore.
That's right.
Now this picture came into my mind with that the same in boxing. Those two guys inside the ring are the whole.
Yes.
They make the whole thing.
100%. When you think of certain fighters, you think about their dance partner. Barrera's dance partner was Eric Morales. Arturo Gatti's dance partner was Mickey Ward.
Mickey Ward.
Mike Tyson's dance partner was Evander Holyfield. These are things you never forget. You will forget Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas, but you will never forget Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. they are synonymous with each other. These are names that are stuck together forever. You know what I mean? When you think about great trilogies in boxing, this brings them together for life, and they become friends for life. And you see that, for example, God rest his soul, Israel Vasquez, he passed away. But when you think about Israel Vasquez, you think about Raphael Marquez. I was there when they fought. I watched them fight live in the MGM Grand in Las Vegas in 2004 or 2006. I remember 2006. I was there. I watched them live. But you think of that name, you think of this person with him.
Yes. And Raphael Marquez, when he found out that Israel was so sick,
yes.
He was calling every day and supporting. And
yes. That's the thing I love so much about boxing. The thing that I love so much about boxing is that when one of the champions is down, everyone is with him. And for me personally, when I was very sick with cancer and I was told that I only had 6 months to live, the whole world, especially the boxing world, rallied behind me. Mauricio, he called me directly and he asked me what he could do to help me and if I needed any financial assistance. This is only possible through the boxing world. Nobody else will do this for you. But when one is suffering, we are all suffering. Like Mauricio, he reached out to me and said to me, Israel Vasquez is very sick. Can you ring him? Can you call him? Can you speak to him? Can you motivate him? This was an honor for me. And I reached out to Israel Vasquez and I messaged him and even now with Vanez Marosian, I went out of my way because he is my fellow fighter. He is my fellow champion. And this is our obligation as a humanity to help people.
Yes. And in that period, in the hospital, that must have been a really hard fight, wasn't it?
It was, I would say, the most difficult battle that I ever faced in my life. I have never faced an opponent who was so strong, so fast, so elusive, such great conditioning. This was an invisible opponent that I couldn't see. Cancer was an invisible opponent that I couldn't see. But I was determined to beat this opponent because I needed to be there for my wife and my son. I needed to be there for all the people who were suffering. I needed to be an inspiration to those who were following me, supporting me, to see that I wasn't going to give up without a fight. And that was the main reason why I was so vocal about my journey, because I wanted my son to see that no matter what happened to me, I never gave up. My dad, I wanted my son to tell people if I did die, that my dad wasn't a quitter, my dad was a champion and he fought till the end. And I remember when Mauricio rang me and he told me that we'll see you at the next convention, you're not going to die, because I know that you have the warrior spirit. And this was the motivation that I needed to overcome these things. I always wanted to be a WBC world champion, always. And the fact that I am now a WBC champion of life, forever, you can't take that away from me now.
And what are the tools that help you overcome? I mean, it's all up here. It's all the mind is very powerful.
I often tell people there was 4 things that got me through. 4 things. Firstly was my faith, my belief in God, and knowing that nothing was happening to me without the permission of God. God knew and could see everything. Faith, my family, my mom, my dad, my siblings, my wife, my son, all my relatives. So faith, family, friendship, the friendship of the boxing world, the community, the people, the fans, and love. Love were the 4 things that got me through. Faith, family, friendship, and love were the 4 things that got me through and kept me alive till today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then tell us about last year when Mauricio said, you will be here at the convention. What happened in the convention last year?
When Mauricio rang me when I was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm sure he saw it online, and he wanted to talk to me and inspire me, he said to me, I will see you at the next convention. And at the time, when he reached out to me, you guys were in the convention of the 2023 convention, and he filmed it, and he told everybody to get up and clap for me, and I'm going to make it, and I'm going to overcome this cancer. then 2024 came around and he rang me and he said, am I going to see you at the convention? And I said to him, I thought you were just telling me to inspire me. He said, no, we want you to be there. You're our champion of life and we want you to come. And when I came and to the convention and I saw people like Roberto Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez, Costa Zoo, Adonis Stevenson, and all of these great champions who were there and were there to clap me on when I was awarded the Champion of Life Championship. I was so honored and blown away, and to be given such respect from an organization like the WBC and to be appointed as chairman of the Champions Board was an absolute honor and something that I will hold close to my heart for a very long time.
Last year during our convention in Uzbekistan, Billy was presented with our Champion of Hope Award.
Round of applause, people.
I'd like to thank the WBC boxing community for reaching out during the most challenging time of my life. On October the 12th, 2022, I was diagnosed with a life-ending cancer. The doctors told me that I had 6 months to live. It was from a dear friend of mine, Sulaimán. He told me that I had a champion's heart and I could win this battle with cancer. In fact, he was so confident that he said he would see me at the next convention, and I'm here now.
Do you feel like you owe something to boxing?
I owe a lot to boxing. I owe a lot to God, and I owe a lot to boxing. I owe a lot to God for allowing me to have the platform that I have, and I owe a lot to boxing because boxing helped me through when I was on the brink of dying. I looked at it like it was a fight. Boxing prepared me for this fight against cancer. And so I feel like I have an obligation today to help fighters understand that boxing is only for a short time and you only have a short period to make lots of money. But you have to look after that money because when boxing is finished, you can't go back to the world all the time. You're going to end up hurting yourself. And I want to educate the fighters to understand that you only have a short period and to invest your money correctly so that you can live a long and healthy and beautiful life with your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very humbling to hear you express so much love for the sport of your life and for the people and for the boxing, for the champions that were always there, and now you are there for them.
Yeah, look, I feel like this is an obligation upon all of us to help fighters understand, to guide them, to protect them. As a champion, whether you're Oscar De La Hoya, whether you're Bernard Hopkins, Floyd Mayweather, whether you're Antonio Barrera, Roy Jones Jr., whether you're Julio Cesar Chavez, Roberto Duran, all of these great champions, it's an obligation upon us as former champions to educate fighters, to not make the mistakes that we did. I was fortunate enough to grow up with a brother, Jihad, Imad, Muhammad, Nasser, all of my brothers who made mistakes and I could learn from them. They could educate me to not make the same mistakes as them. And as a fighter, it is our obligation to guide young fighters to not make the mistakes that we did. Why would we want fighters to go through what we did? Why do we want a fighter to fight his whole career and then at the end of his career end up broke with no money? Why? Because during his boxing career, he wanted to buy nice cars. I remember when I was a young man and I earned my first $100,000 payday. I wanted to buy a car. My dad said, absolutely not. The first thing you're going to do is buy a property. I didn't want a property. I wanted a car. But my dad forced me to buy a property. And we need to force these young fighters to understand that these are the right decisions to make. Buying cars is not a smart idea. Buying jewelry is not a smart idea. I'm not wearing any jewelry. Buying clothes, this is not a smart idea. You know what I mean? It's nice to have nice things, but it's smart to make good business decisions that are going to help you live the rest of your life comfortably. That's what I feel is important. When you think about boxing and you think about the people that do boxing, 99% of them come from obscurity and from being in a poor background. You never find somebody who is extremely wealthy becoming a world champion, because to become a world champion and to become a legend of the sport of boxing, you need to come from humble beginnings nearly. You need to, because to be a champion, you have to be willing to go to a place that the average person will not go. The average person will not go to the place of death to become a world champion, but a fighter who has lived in obscurity and has lived a life of being poor, he will go to that place because he wants the extravagant things of life. But what that fighter needs to understand is that when you arrive at that point and you become a world champion, you have a small window, because there are other champions who are going to be in the future that are knocking on the door to take your platform. And of course, not many people have gone through their career undefeated. Maybe minimal. What, Joe Calzaghe, Floyd Mayweather, you know what I mean? Rocky Marciano is some of the ones that I know, you know what I mean? But
Ricardo Lopez.
People knock on the door, and they're knocking a lot to shake you off that platform, and you need to understand that you can't be on the platform forever. So you need to make as much money as you can and invest it in the right places, so that when you leave your boxing career, you can leave with dignity and honor. Not just another bum on the street.
Yes.
This is what I dream. And I know that the WBC has the same dream as me. Mauricio has the same dream as me. He told me that, God rest his soul, José Sulaimán had the same dream. Your father had the same dream. He wanted to see fighters live with honor and dignity and pride, not to be broke and on the side without money.
Yeah.
That's why the WBC helps fighters who are struggling.
That was my father's dream and mission. Not just a dream, a mission.
And I want to make that dream and mission come true. And I believe that God has given me the tools, and God has allowed me to overcome cancer and allowed me to be alive today to be able to help people. And I feel that this is an obligation upon me now, is to help people progress in their lives and live comfortably. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah. As they say, things happen for a reason.
They do.
Is there something that you can say that boxing taught you?
Boxing taught me to have humility and to have honor and to have pride and to have dignity. This is what boxing taught me. To be kind to the people. I'm a gentle soul. I will smile at you. I will shake your hand. I will show you a lot of respect. Just don't share the boxing with me. Just don't share the boxing ring with me, because when you share the boxing ring with me, I want to win. But boxing taught me a lot about life and about being good to people and supporting people and understanding that each and every single one of us has a journey, and each and every single one of us will go through things. And boxing has taken me on the spiral of education, and I've learned things through the sport of boxing that other things didn't teach me.
Yeah. As much as boxing has given you, has it taken anything away from you?
Boxing, I would say, even though I became a multiple-time world champion, I was the WBC Youth World Champion, I was the IBO World Champion, I was the IBF World Champion, I challenged for the WBC World title. Boxing promised me extravagant amounts of money if you become a world champion, and boxing did not deliver this to me. But what boxing did for me is give me a platform to be able to make money in the later stages of my life, and I'm grateful for this. Boxing gave me a lot, but the things that boxing didn't give me was the financial benefits that I believed that I would. But that's okay, because it gave me the platform to be who I am today, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of sacrifice in the boxing life. In the life of a boxer,
Yes.
I mean, a lot of sacrifice, right?
Definitely. I sacrificed a lot. My family sacrificed a lot. But it was worth it. I remember being a young boy, I wouldn't go out. I never drank alcohol in my life. I never smoked a cigarette. Boxing saved me from these things. Boxing gave me the best of everything. And I will never change that for nothing. I think that maybe during my boxing career, I was there was stages where things were robbed of me, like my contract with SMS Promotions, TMT with 50 Cent of Ford Melbourne. Things were robbed. I was robbed of extravagant amounts of money, but that's okay, because maybe if I had had that money, I would have bought a vehicle that may have caused an accident that I would have died in. Who knows? God knows. Only God knows. But I always say that everything only happens in your life for a reason, and I don't complain. I just say that I'm grateful that God allowed me to be a world champion, because when I was a young boy that was 12 years of age, that was my dream, to be a world champion. I managed to do that through winning the WBC Youth World Title, the IBO Super Featherweight World Title, and the IBF Featherweight World Title. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the journey that I've had. And more than that, I won the greatest fight of my life. And boxing gave me the tools to win that fight against cancer. And I was awarded a championship that can never be taken away from me. And that's a champion of life with the WBC. Yes. Nobody can ever take that title away from me. No other person can ever beat me for that world title. I'm a WBC champion of life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you're working hard. You're still working hard in boxing in that.
I am. I am. And it is my goal. It is my goal and dream to see that no fighter ever leaves the sport of boxing with no money.
Yeah.
I never want to see a champion or a contender leave the sport with no money. That's my dream.
Yes. Talking about dreams, let's talk about a dream fight. Yeah. Which would be your dream fight?
Honestly, my dream fight, and I would love to do an exhibition with him one day. It would be my dream come true. Antonio Barrera.
Oh.
I loved him so much, and me and him are friends on social media, and I've met him in person, and it would be my dream come true if I could one day share the ring with him in an exhibition. This would have been my dream fight, because I believe Antonio Barrera was macho man. He was very strong, very fast, very aggressive, and he had a lot of nalgas. He wanted to win,
It's possible.
I would love that.
It could be.
I dream of the day that Mauricio invites me to a WBC convention and Marco is there. I love him with all my heart. I really do. Even though he beat my childhood hero in Prince Nassim Hamed, I always loved Marco Antonio Barrera. He was truly a gentleman of the sport of boxing. Mm-hmm. Very educated man. I know that Marco is very smart and very educated.
Yes.
And I love him for that.
Yes, he is. and what's next in your life? I mean, you're working right now in the Champions Committee. What is your plan for the near future?
So after the 12th of December, this will be my last time that I ever get into a boxing ring, and I wanted to do this to prove to the world that no matter what you go through in your life, you can always live on your own terms. And this is not about trying to resurrect my boxing career or win more world titles. This is about me living on my own terms as a champion of life, a WBC champion of life, and leaving the ring on my own terms. But moving forward, my dream is to work with the WBC, and I've also written a kid's book. I've written a book for young kids called Boys Do Cry, and this is about empowering young boys to be able to cry and express their feelings. I want to help people who are going through certain things in their life. I want to be a mentor, and that's my goal in life now, is to be somebody who helps others. Mm-hmm. I feel like God gave me a platform to survive cancer, and I believe that this is my obligation now to help people.
Is boxing like a lonely sport?
Boxing is a very, very lonely sport at times, but it can also be a sport where you can share it with others. Uh-huh. And obviously when you're in the ring, it's a lonely spot because you're in there by yourself. But for me, I always enjoyed my career because I had my family with me, my friends with me, the supporters were there with me, uh-huh. my corner, and for me, this fight is very special because my childhood trainer, who I had 113 amateur fights with and 17 professional fights with, me and him are now finishing our career together. So this is a very, very special moment for me, and boxing gave me a lot, and I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. First and foremost, I want to thank God for everything that I've been ever given. I want to tell the world that I'm extremely grateful for every single one of your guys' support. I'm only here today through the prayers of my fellow humans, through the mercy of God. And I want to say that I wish each and every single person out there all the very best. I wish you all health and happiness. And remember that everything in your life starts with a vision. Consistency will only help you find success. And I wish you all love and happiness. God bless you all.